Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Off the Bench for the Sunday night for the first week of Supercoach 2023. I hope we all had a few wins this week and we all got the right captain's choices. We've got a nice panel here tonight. We've got Roscoe, Timo and Guy. Guy, how'd we go with your team this week? What happened to you? Guy?
1112 before updates.
Yep.
Couple of good things, obviously starting Harry. Started off the week well. Same with Hopgood, which most of us had. Dewey coming home today was quite strong. Impressed. I think the main difference that I had was Carrigan and Haas, the two Queensland boys. They did really well, I thought, for Brisbane up against the Panthers. My letdowns, I played Warbrick and Khan Pereira as my two centre wings, which hurt me. And Cody Walker, my pod 5'8", also failed. Obviously, my plans were to go to Hines after round 2. So, yeah, still, we'll probably hold him for one more week. But, yeah, apart from that, not too unhappy. 11-12.
Yeah, you must be, geez, Cody Walker to Brimson might be an option for you, eh?
Well, with Katoa being dual, my plan was always to get Hines when he comes back. So I wanted someone that wasn't too cheap. It would have been beautiful having DCE, but either by round 2, I already looked, everyone else was on Birdo or someone else. I just thought might as well have a go.
Yeah. Good stuff. And next up, we've got Timmy. Timmy's been at the Dolphins game today. He's got the fin hat on. Show running the fin hat, Timmy. Get a side on. There he goes.
Fins up.
Beautiful word.
Fins up. Absolutely, boys. Fins up. That was fantastic. It was a great part of history. Yeah, look, it was just awesome. The whole crowd was there, nearly 33,000 people. It was fantastic atmosphere, plenty of yelling and shouting. I tried to do a couple of live crosses. It was just way too noisy. But yeah, look, the atmosphere was fantastic. Just the whole spectacle of it. It was awesome. The NRL did a really good job. The Dolphins obviously did a really good job. And the Roosters did a really good job showing how poor they can be when they're up to shit. So, yeah.
Expected round 1 for the Roosters.
Oh, it's typical round 1. Yeah, look, and the best part for me was my pod captain in Trell came out much better than what Teddy did. So, I mean, I half expect to go to sleep tonight. Teddy will wake up tomorrow on 90 or something, even though he only touched the ball about 6 times and dropped it most of them. But you just never know with Teddy. He'll obviously get his try assist, line break assist for their try. So, yeah, look, anything could happen with him. I was surprised at the score that he had. That's one of the worst games I've ever seen Teddy play. And I watched him pretty closely because I was sure as hell death riding him. I think anytime he went near the ball, I was sort of, shooting some magic arrows at him. And maybe that's why he kept dropping the ball. But no, it was a fantastic game. Awesome spectacle. Congratulations to Wayne. And yeah, his nephew, Dwayne Bennett, he's been in the media heaps. He's been good value watching on Fox Sports and KO. But yeah, look, my round this week, 1172. Pretty stoked. I still had some floppers in there, but a lot of the pods that I went worked out really well. I went with Ponga. Unfortunately, he got pulled off the field with 12 and a half to go, and he seemed to be on fire at that stage. So that was a bit disappointing, but in updates, he's gone to 72, so I can't complain with that. My biggest downers were Taruva at 39, but without a try, I'm pretty happy for that with a debut game. Then obviously I had Khan Pereira, Egan Butcher getting sent for 10, finished with a 31, and Isaac Thompson, one or the other on 37. So, but I've still got plenty of points on the bench, which is always positive as well. So the guys that I didn't play should make some cash. So all things looking up at this stage. Certainly a much better start this season than my last season.
Oh, good stuff. The homework might have paid off for you.
Certainly
How'd your homework go, Roscoe? Did your homework pay off?
No. It's like I've been sent to detention, mate. I got 1,028 this week. Absolutely disgusting. Like, So many letdowns, you know, Cohen has 33, even Butcher 31, Tommy Talau 18, Tarova 39, and Tom Pereira 6. Yeah, I wasn't planning on trading after round one, but it looks like I'm going to be forced to make a couple of trades with a couple of pretty ordinary scores there and potentially an injury for Talau as well. So yeah, not good. So it's all right. It's only round one, plenty of time to go. And hopefully we can just start building up from there anyway.
No, good stuff. I got just near 1100, so I'm just probably just on par, just under 1100. So it's I captained for feeder, so I that was a pretty ballsy move maybe in the end, but it sort of half paid off. I think it sort of saved me bacon a bit. Look, I'm pretty happy. Probably my biggest regret is not playing Hopgood. He sat on my bench, and it's always a hurtful thing to have a look up and see 100 points sitting on your bench doing nothing. when you do go and play Katoa from Melbourne, you know, because I thought that, I thought there was some nice base and a few other things I liked in Katoa. And Tuolagi's my other one from Manly, which that was really a pod move. I understand that, but I'll be trading him this week. They're just using him as a decoy runner, and the ball just sailed straight past him half the time. They really like hitting Okoladu and sort of going out wide to Garrick on the other side. So yeah, I've got a little bit of work to do over, you know, the next couple of weeks. But the next couple of weeks are pretty important. That's why it's a good time to have a look at the teams and have a look at the advice that's running around and just seeing where you're at. So we might actually have a look at some of these games. We might kick off with Roscoe. Do you want to tell us what happened in the Eels and Storm game? You got a few ideas on the players that you like there?
Yeah, cracking game. You know, Storm got the winning golden point thanks to Harry Grant scoring that try. You know, he was good too. So I'll just go through the scores here. I think Junior Paulo was massive with 101 points. Played 68 metres, ran nearly 200 metres, 6 tackle busts. He was just in really good form. Hopgood as well for 101 points. I think 185 of those was in pure base, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's going to be a PPM beast, that bloke. I'm sure you've got all that time to set down there, Brad. 57 tackles, 172 metres, just unbelievable. And the next one is Josh King, 98 points. Played all the minutes at lock, but they did have a couple of injuries, probably inflated his minutes. But you know, try assist, a linebacker assist, a tackle bust, 2 offloads, and only 2.2% owned. So he could be one to watch as well. The other couple is just Harry Grant with 96 points as well. Scored the winning try, and Nick Meaney, I thought, was also good for 74 points too. Pretty much involved in that game as well. There's a couple others we can mention. Munster was good, but obviously injured now. Christian Walsh was pretty solid, as was Josh Hodgson too. Played 80 minutes. Couple of disappointments for that game was probably Warbrick and Moses for those two. So there is a few to watch from that game, obviously. You know, Josh King, Hopgood for those who didn't start him, should be on him, which is about 40% of owners. What about you guys? Is anyone else that I missed that you guys are potentially looking at on your watch list from that game?
I've added to the watch list for leading up to Origin. Hopefully he gets a few more low scores. The one you missed, I think, was Welchie. You touched on Josh King. I think he's about just a little bit more expensive. But if you take out King's line break assist and try assist, it's almost on par with Welch's score anyway. So, yeah, I really liked Welch in that game. I thought he was quite good. And the other one was the battle between the back rollers. I think all 4 were actually quite popular, both the Eels and both Manly. Storm back rollers. Cardi probably probably was the pick of the lot. I thought he played quite well. Dory, bit underperforming. But yeah, just thought, I think those mid-range second rows are a bit of a wasteland. I think you're better off just like we did, start with a premium, drop down, so you know which one's the right one. Because there was a lot of potentials which didn't score too well.
No, very good.
But yeah, apart from that,
You might just have to check your setup there, Guy. You're buffering out really badly on my end. I'm sure the other boys will agree. Yeah, you're
Munster got
buffering.
injured. I think he might be a trade out for those that have him.
Yeah, Guy, you're really cutting out and buffering, mate. So, yeah, maybe move your computer around a bit or try a different setup because we can barely hear.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on to the next game. The only thing I will say about that Melbourne game, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but Harry Grant, 2 minutes before the end of the game, was only on 60. All right, so there's a few other hookers around on the weekend that probably, it could have been a lot worse for owners of Harry Grant. Let me put it that way. The Warriors and the Knights. Did you happen to see this game at all, Timmy?
Warriors and the Knights, mate. No, unfortunately, I missed most of this. I was
All right,
on
Roscoe,
daddy
fill
duties
us
with the
in.
kids.
So Wade Egan, 99 points, was really good. I mean, obviously he's probably not the Supercoach option, but he was outstanding. Dangerous out of dummy half, scored a try assist. A lot of other stats in there as well. Tohu Harris played the whole 80 minutes at lock, scored 88 points. He was really solid too, as was Mitch Barnett for about 68 points, I think he got as well in 49 minutes. The other ones probably to mention from that game was probably CNK, who scored 63, Jackson Ford 62, and Ponga was at 72, I think, after updates in that one.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting game, this one. Supercoach wise, I mean, Ponga owners, well, you know, another 10 minutes on there and he was looking pretty hot. He could have, he certainly has sparked my interest. I don't have him at the moment. I do have Ford. I think if you're looking a bit weak for a cheapy second rower, Ford played 80 and there was no real reason for him to play 80 other than the fact that the coach wanted him to. So I'd be having a serious thought about Ford.
Just on that there, Brad, like
Yep.
I was tossing up between him and Kepi and a couple of others. Do you think at this stage of the game it's worth a sideways trade of someone like a Sean Kepi to a Jackson Ford for similar value?
I didn't like a lot of what I saw of Kepi from a Supercoach point of view. Not only shifting back to the bench, but then even when he was on the bench, his minutes were sort of a bit stunted and limited. And I actually don't think that he looked like an 80-minute edge back rower. So I really think he's probably, he might make a slow 100 grand, but he's probably not going to go advance you much more than that at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of Kepi owners out there, I understand, but yeah, I'd be fractionally worried about how you're certainly not going to play him any week. But the good news is he doesn't play next week anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to, really think about it next week unless you think, oh, bugger it, I'm going to get rid of him completely.
And then you got,
Gives you a chance to have another look at Jackson Ford anyway.
Yeah.
well, that's the other thing too, because you've still got Jazz Tabunga to come back into that team as well. So, you know, given that that Kempy doesn't play next week, it's probably worth a waiting to see what happens. Mate, see whether Ford plays the minutes again. But like he was great. He had 12 hit ups, 150 meters, 3 tackle buffs, 1 line break, and 2 offloads and 25 tackles. So he was very busy. Looked good.
The only thing that worries me is he only scored a 59. So, you know, with a line break and how well he played, considering, I thought he would have been a little bit higher. That's all.
I get what you're saying, Guy, but if you look at all those mid-rangers that played 80 minutes, like no one sort of, went gangbusters. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, the other issue there is Sean Curran didn't play a lot of minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see, once the big fella comes back and Sean Curran is going to obviously demand more minutes, you would like to think. So whether or not that affects forward, look, it's a wait and see. So yeah, the point I was trying to make is whether or not it's worth a sideways trade in round 2, or whether you sort of hold off on someone like Sean Keppie, wait another week and then and wait and see. Obviously, if you can hold trades this week and then use a boost in after round 2, then you're still up an extra trade. So looking good.
What do you guys think of Lachlan Fitzgibbon? I know he's not ever been sort of Supercoach relevant, but he's going to get 80 minutes on that edge, running off Ponga. I think he could be one to look at potentially. Do you guys think he's an option at all?
No.
I think I think he can be. We all know that, like, his what is it? His dad's company or something is the club sponsor, or there's some connection in there somewhere. So I think there's that little bit of pressure that we all sort of talk about every year. Fitzy always seems to be that bloke that gets the minutes. Like if it's a toss a coin between him and somebody else, he always seems to tip the scales and get the extra minutes that might be there on offer.
Which used to piss me off because as Barnett owner in particular.
Absolutely.
It was grading.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Any of you boys looking at Tohu from
Yes.
the Warriors?
Yes, definitely.
Bringing into your side, or because I think a lot of people like him, but he kind of goes under the radar. Not many people actually bring him in.
Well, he updated 88 points. He won't play 80 every week, I don't think, especially with Jazz to come back in. But I still think he'll play at least 65 minutes. And I think he's definitely an option. For sure.
No buy till round 12.
Yeah.
What do you boys think of Dan Safidi? I know he was quite popular at the front row as a cheap. He scored 52. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I don't think that was quite the points that everybody was thinking he was going to get. But
50 is from a 400k front row. It's not too bad.
Better than starting with his brother, who was a lot more expensive, that only got about 30 points.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next game. The Panthers versus the Broncos. Timmy's Broncos got the chocolates here. Timmy, you want to give us an idea on what happened in this game? I'm sure you did watch this one.
Oh, mate, I don't even know the result. I mean, not really sure at all. Hey, look, fantastic. It's I'd just like to say I'm quietly confident throughout our preseason chats that I did keep mentioning that I don't think Panthers are going to be quite what they have been for the last few years. And I'm quietly confident I was spruiking that the Broncos might be a little bit better than they have been over the last few years. So, I'll just leave that one out there. No, the game was great. The Broncos got off to a pretty handy start too. So, look, you get the Panthers on a bad day, but let's be honest, they looked pretty average. They looked fairly rudderless without Appy. They didn't have as much in attack going left with missing, obviously, Big Billy Kickout. So, yeah, look, I've done pretty much what I expected. It was like playing the second half of the World Club Challenge, pretty much. It was pretty much on repeat. So, look, there wasn't a lot to get excited over there. I had the VC on Cleary. That obviously came out, he scored 53 points. Has that game actually been fully updated yet? I've been out most of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, so, look, Nathan Cleary obviously is not off to the flying start that a lot of people would have hoped for. There was 36 or 38% of people captained him straight up, which is a pretty unbelievable thing. I can imagine there was probably at least another 30% that would have had the VC on him and some kind of backup plan for the VC loophole. But, yeah, look, Liam Martin knocked out an 83. If he didn't play 80 minutes, I think he was pretty close to it.
No, 80.
Sonny Luke got the second top score for the Panthers, and he only come on with about 16 minutes to go. And he looked every bit a footballer. Obviously, that's a stupid thing to say because they're all playing rugby league. But, yeah, look, the second he came on the field, they just instantly lifted. So I think the minutes are certainly going to be numbered for Mitch Kenny. We talked about him in the offseason even in that Mitch Kenny, for a long period of time now, he's been a borderline first grader. He's a great number 14 to come in and take 20 to 30 minutes off somebody. But he doesn't seem to be an 80-minute hooker or anywhere near it. I think Sonny Luke demands after that performance, and Ivan Cleary sort of had the eyes wide open in the press conference and said, yeah, look, shit, he probably went a bit better than we thought he was going to do. So it wouldn't surprise me if Sonny Luke gets to that 55, 60-minute mark like that they'd been spruiking throughout the off-season that he's going to get to. So I actually started with Sonny Luke there as a cheaper option. I had Harry Grant and Sonny Luke, so I was pretty happy with that. Didn't play Sonny Luke, but he's sitting on the bye and maturing well. Isaiah Yeo, one of his usual performances, banged out a 59. Then Cleary, James Fisher-Harris seemed to be involved, but I don't think he got quite as many minutes as he probably would have liked. Then Stephen Crichton, Dylan Edwards was not a bad game for him for being first game back for the season. Obviously first game, but for the season. But I mean, he didn't play the trials or anything like that either. As for the Broncos, Herbie Farnworth, again another one that I said when people were going Cobbo and Stags, I said I thought that Herbie was the pick. Herbie started really well last season as well, and looked on fire till he got injured, and then finished had the rest of the season off. So I think Herbie's going to continue on from where he started last season. I think the guy's a real footballer, and unfortunately, we're going to lose him to the Dolphins in 24. I think he's a huge loss. Payne Haas banged out a 79 and Paddy Carrigan a 74, which was most impressive. I started with both guys. And then A-Ray with a 63, pretty much what you get from Adam Reynolds, and Ezra Mam a 61. They were sort of the highlights. Corey Oates had an up and down game, as Corey sometimes does. Outside of that, yeah, look, the guys that went Cobbo would be thoroughly disappointed with a 24, and a lot went Stags with a 29. That's about it, boys.
It would have been tough going them against Panthers. Even as a Broncos fan yourself.
Oh, mate, I tipped the Panthers, I'm not going to lie, but that's more tipping with my head, not my heart. But it's my young bloke, Bailey, who we all know, Bailey O, who's going to eventually have his own segment on here, Child's Play. He started his Child's Play League this year for any of the kids out there. Yeah, Bailey actually tipped 6 from 6 for the first 6 games. And then he said, Dad, what do I do for the last 2? I said, mate, if you're going for a perfect round, you a smart person's just got to go with the Roosters. And he sort of gave me a big punch in the arm after that one. So he did actually tip the Tigers in the last one as well. So he was a bit cranky in the car ride home. But yeah, look, it's it did well, tipping 6 from 6 and tipped the Broncos over the Panthers for round 1.
I'll just touch on Liam Martin. He's quite popular. He's put up 83. Brad said he did play 80 minutes. My only issue with him is he had a line break and a try assist. So that's up 20-odd points. And he also had 16 points in offloads, which I don't think he'll get, 4 effective offloads every game.
No.
So if you take those things out, he's back into a 50. So, yeah, I just don't think he's the lock as everyone, like, for example, Haas and Carrigan can put up that same score and just base. Whereas, I think he needs a bit more to fall his way. But yeah, that's all I wanted to touch on him. But I do like his Sonny Luke play as a backup hooker to save a bit of cash.
Look at the rest of Liam Martin's stats. Like he made 39 tackles, but he got 2 points. So he had 1 hit up over 8 meters, and then 8 hit ups under 8. So he's got 39 tackles, but had 9 runs of the ball all game. Someone who's having 9 runs a game is not someone who I'd be chasing, that's for sure.
Yeah, and -6 in missed tackles and -4 in errors.
Yeah.
And that it was probably from when he bombed that try over the line too.
Yeah.
With Payne Haas, just a special mention. I think he went up. It was 18 points in tackle bus, 9 tackle bus. What a beast!
Yeah.
He was just a machine. Him and Paddy, they were just in unison. It was fantastic to watch. It's something really positive for the Broncos going forwards. Like we said in the off season, that if their forward pack can click and they've got the stars in the back line that can run the ball, I think things are on the up and up as long as they can keep everyone fit and healthy and on the park. And obviously Adam Reynolds kicked pretty well during the game. Although I think he did kick one out on the full from memory. But yeah, that's just A-Ray. Take the good with the bad.
All righty. The next game was the Seagulls versus the Bulldogs. As the Seagulls tragic, I'll give this one a quick Turbo's back. Fuck yeah. Let's bring it on. Turbo. Well, I tell you what, he did look a bit ginger at times and a bit unsure about himself when striding out, but we'll see how we go. Cherry Evans was outstanding, but he does this every now and again. Getting over 100. So did Garrick. Like I said before, he didn't see a lot of ball at times, but when he does see the ball, he gets very involved and he just loves it. He did very well there. The Bulldogs, well, they just, unfortunately for the Bulldogs, they look very disorganised. And they really just didn't really handle the speed of the ruck there at all. Unfortunately, some of those Manly players just got over the top of them up down through the middle. And even when Bullymore came on, I'd never pick him in Supercoach, but even Bullymore made them look a bit silly at times. It's more, Cherry Evans' ownership isn't huge. I guess if he puts up another big one next week and Cleary doesn't, then people before the price rising will consider jumping, and it could be a very good move to do that.
Don't forget they've got the buy though. They got the buy.
No, that's right. Yeah, they do. But before Cleary drops his money in week 3, Cherry Evans might be a good move. Yeah, it's just a funny one. And an interesting one here is Sutton. There's a lot of talk about Sutton, and I around Supercoach circles. I know a lot of people jumped on him. I couldn't do it myself, but 48 points. It's nothing really to write home about. Mahoney, I'll tell you what, he looked good. I'll give it to him. But he looked like he was carrying the team all on his Pat Malone. He was doing everything possible while everybody else was either trying to avoid running the ball up or just kicks. What's the go with kicks? What happened to kick out? Anybody got any ideas on that one?
No, I missed most. I didn't see a lot of that game, so I'm not too sure what happened with him. But he played 72 minutes, so the minutes were there, but he just don't know what happened.
Didn't offer much.
But you're right on Marnie, Brad. He was by far the Dogs' best player. He had a tackle bust, 58 tackles. Can definitely put him on a watch list because I think he'll be pretty solid. There's a few hookers first round that you can definitely watch for sure.
He was about the only player who you would really, poor old Birdo, 18 points. If you went with the Birdo option, oh, geez, I feel sorry for you. But
the one who piques my interest, and he's a bit of a out there pick from the Dogs, is actually Kiraz. I think he put up a 50-odd just in base. No tries, no assists, no line breaks today in a well-beaten side. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's quality for that Dogs backline.
But you couldn't go any of the forwards, though, looking at those minutes. Like, none of the edge players played 80 minutes. Even Brown played 48 minutes. I think Sutton only played about 50 minutes. The minutes aren't there. It looks like they're going to get rotated around by Seraldo. So, but the duds for that game, Matt Burton, Paul Almonte, 18 points, and Frank the Trap Pele got 8 points.
The thing with Carraz, guy, like you were saying before, he got 16 points in offloads and 24 points in hit-ups over 8 and 4 points under 8. So
yeah, and he gets a few.
And then there was an ineffective offload in there as well. So 18 points in offload. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. What's that? Four effective and 1 ineffective. So yeah, not a bad.
Yeah, and
shot.
he had a few tackle busts, but if you go back, he does that quite a bit. He's got quite good base attack.
Yeah. He was a solid play in Supercoach when he first came in. So, look, if he can replicate that, and we all seem to think that the general consensus is certainly that the Bulldogs are on the improve. So, yeah, look, he's definitely one to keep an eye on at 567K.
What did you think, Brad, of Paseka? I know you liked him in your PPM article. He put up a 59, just over 400K.
Look, I actually really like Paseka. I just wish he'd get more minutes, or I wish one day he would realise how friggin' big he is, right? He's actually, I think he's the biggest player in the NRL at the moment, weight-wise, but he benefits off a massive height there as well. Yeah, he just doesn't understand how big he is. But the problem is he only gets like about 30 minutes a game. How many minutes did he play? About 30 again?
I'll check for you, but it wasn't that many.
Yeah, so
Yeah, sorry.
No, that was just it. It's sort of Paseka and Kepi have very similar roles, and they have for the last 2 or 3 seasons. It's just a case of they don't get a lot of minutes because there's always been too many mouths to feed. But we were all sort of hoping that with Marty Tapau going to the Broncos, that one of the two would have picked up more minutes, or both of them picked up a bit more. But it seems that's about all it was. They've both sort of gone from 30 minutes to 35 minutes or something similar. But yeah, look, Paseka looked like an absolute steamroller. He was like a man playing with boys. It's every time he got the ball, he just seemed to run over blokes. It looked great.
The other one I wanted to talk about that I thought was pretty disappointing was Gerbo, because he played 80 minutes. He played part of the game at prop and part of the game at lock, and only got 42 points. Being a dual, he was one that I was keeping my eye on, but I don't know so much now, Brad. He didn't seem to touch much of the ball. Bit disappointing.
I'd probably disagree there. I think he's the Cooper Cronk of the forwards. You know, Cooper Cronk could never score much Supercoach points, and I think Gerbo is nearly in that same. He looked great throughout the whole game. He was definitely very active. Jesus, he cut a few people in half with some of those tackles.
Yeah.
He just doesn't seem to translate to a Supercoach world at the moment. And yeah, so he's an avoid. He certainly
Especially
is.
price, because he's not cheap either.
No.
No, he's 5'28", but he had his hands on the ball all the time. He just, like, I thought he was going to be on 80 or 90, and then looked at his score and went, shit. I think before updates he was in low 40s, and I really thought he was going to be right up there. So he was sort of mentally, while I'm watching the game, thinking, geez, I'll be checking him out after the game and keeping him on the watch list, and then went, oh wow, he hasn't even cracked 50.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was on my watch list because once he became a dual, I was thinking, oh, geez, I'd like to smash this bloke up into my front row, but I don't think so now. I just don't think he's translating to Supercoach world, as I said. The Cooper Cronk of the forwards these days. You get people like that just don't, their scores just don't translate, despite the fact how good or how active they might be. Hey, Guy, did you happen to see the Raiders versus Cowboys at all? No, Guy's frozen.
Didn't catch.
He's gone again.
No, we've lost him again.
Yeah, we've lost you again, Guy. So, Roscoe, do you happen to see this game?
Yeah, I did catch part of this game. Cowboys got the win by 1 point. I think we're all expecting. Guy, we can't hear you again.
All good. I'll text Guy.
So I think we're all expecting to be a flogging. Raiders down 80 points to 0 at one stage, but came back. And Rapana, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's gone 3 weeks for his tackle. Just absolute brain snap by him. Anyway, Reece Robson, outstanding 73 points. Had him on my team all pre-season, but then looked back at the last seasons, and he'd only played 80 minutes in probably one of the first 9 games, so I didn't end up starting him, but he was pretty strong. Try assist, 4 tackle busts, 1 line break, 49 tackles. Cotter was pretty strong too. 18 hit-ups, 67 minutes, ran 216 metres, 4 tackle busts, 35 tackles. And Holmes for 60-odd points with a try assist, a line break assist, 4 tackle busts looked okay. And Drinky was pretty average score considering he scored 2 tries. 3 tackle busts, he only got pulled up 58 points.
Yeah, no, that's Rapana. I love watching Rapana. I tell you what, he is psychotic. You know, he's one of those psychotic players that you just love to. You know the shit's going to hit the wall at some point, and he's going to do something that's crazy. He's just going to flip out, and you just love watching it. It's like watching a train heading towards a brick wall. You know, it's going to smash at some point. So any takeaways from this game?
No, as you know, I played cricket most of the weekend, so I didn't catch too much of this game apart from the highlights. But yeah, the ones I was interested in was mainly Cotter and Robson and Holmes, probably those 3. They're the only ones that really interest me. But yeah, luckily I avoided Cohen Hess.
Yeah, he was on the dud list for me, 32 points. Nani was another one that was pretty highly owned at 27 points as well. It's pretty disappointing.
It's going to be good though. If he drops a bucket load of cash, I'd be keeping your eye on him because I bet they will go on a roll. And
I'd probably put Tarpanay as a fail, even though he scored 50 odd. I think for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he certainly wasn't turning up, or it didn't look like he was going to turn up even. Not like everybody was expecting him to. So go the Bronco forwards.
Tuolagi looks good. He's certainly got some more points in him. So I don't mind that one as a, I think he's high 500s, mid to 500s, but he's definitely he's on my watch list there. I'm going to be watching him with a lot of interest.
What happened to Kyle Felt? Because I didn't catch much of that game. He didn't score very well either. He didn't seem to be too involved.
I think it was more so it was almost like a tale of two halves. Like the Cowboys got away really well, and it looked like they were going to put on a cricket score. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders just slowly chipped away back at them, and then everything the Cowboys touched seemed to go to poo. So it just didn't seem to work after that. So look, I don't think in the end the ball went a lot his way. I think there was a few errors out that side of the field as well. So yeah, look, it's I was actually keeping a bit of an eye on both of their wingers. I've got Val and was pretty keen to get on top of one of them as soon as one of my cheapies gained some cash, or I'd move some money around if one of my cheapies really started to suck. So look, I kept a bit of a close eye on both of those, and we'll probably still continue to do so over the next 3 or 4 rounds, because like we've said all along, they've got that dream draw. And if they produce as well as they did, I mean, they got the 2 points this week, as unconvincing as the second half was. But you, take them one game at a time.
I know that they've got a sweet run, but if Holmes doesn't pull up a decent score next round, is it stupid to go sideways and go him to Garrett for round 3 before he drops a ton of cash if he's going to?
No, I think that's a great option. I think the Manly doesn't have the ugliest round, and Guy and I have talked about this as well. Target some of their players after their bye is a bit of a backup plan. I think it's much the same with Cherry Evans. So yeah, look, for guys like Val, definitely a sideways trade over to Garrick is definitely an option. But I would certainly wait and see after round 2 till Manly have their bye.
Yeah. And one also to mention was Drinky. He put up, 34 in tries and another 4 in try contribution. And he only scored 59. So he would have only got 20 points without those. So a bit concerning.
Actually, just while I think of it really quickly, on much the same thread there, Guy, when we were talking about the Manly game before, isn't it interesting to see that Cherry Evans scored 3 tries and a try assist and just cracked the ton, whereas you can imagine if Hines or Nathan Cleary scored 3 tries and a try assist, they'd be looking at 150 to 200 plus. So yeah, look, whether that's just the way that Supercoach gets scored, those popular players seem to just get those unicorn points like we talk about, get the 50-50 point scoring calls, whereas yeah, look, DCE seemed to be in absolutely everything in that game for Manly. And look,
the only thing that puts DCE down is not having the goal kicking, which Gary gets, because that's where Cleary gets a lot as well, just from goals.
Well, other than the 3 tries for DCE, you had 1 try assist and 1 line break assist and 3 tackle busts. So
there's all these points right there.
There's no other in those 3 tries. There's not really much in the way of attacking other stats there to go with it.
Mm.
With only one try assist in 3 tries.
Yeah.
So.
All
right. Talking about the gift that keeps giving in Nico. Well, he didn't play in the next game. We've got the Sharks and the Rabbitohs. Campbell Graham. I wish I could afford him. I can't. He cracked out 109. Cam Murray. I do have him. Got his typical 84. He is just a beast. He just doesn't matter to me if he drops money or gains money. He's just a keeper for me all year. The real surprising one, of course, is Lachlan Ilias, got 84. Congratulations, you're a genius if you had him. I don't know anybody that does, but if you did, good on you.
It was surprisingly about 7 or 8% owned. I don't know how many played him though, but I was surprised when I saw his ownership.
They'd be Bunnies fans, mate, guaranteed. There's a token bunny fan at every game that have Lachlan Ilias in their side.
Yeah.
Colin Matungi, any interest, fellas? He got 84 as well, and he played 80 minutes. Is there, you look set for an 80-minute role? Any interest for that?
I've owned him before, and he's always been pretty consistent for me. I mean, he should have turned up. He dropped the ball over the line, so he should have had a ton. But I've always liked him. I just think that it's just an awkward price. I can't remember what he is, but he's very awkwardly priced, and
He's 700k.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's a lot to pay. Like, you know, like you compare him to someone like Cam Murray, who's only a little bit more. He's going to get you those. He's going to get that 80 odd in base, whereas you know he relies on those attacking stats to get those points. So it's a lot to pay for a bloke who's not going to bang out like 50, 60 in base. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's only going to give you 50 to 60.
Yeah.
Playing 80 minutes in base.
Yeah.
The other two quickly mentioned basically got 70 each. Cook and Latrell Mitchell didn't set the world on fire, but didn't really let anyone down too badly. On the watch list, probably I'm going to mention Mole. Molly, I think his name is
Malali.
I think he's 234k, and he cracked out a 44. Did get given good minutes. He's one that if you don't own him, probably put on your watch list, or if you need to shuffle money around, I reckon if you whack him on your front row, if he's going to crack out 40 every week, just about in base, he's going to make a little bit of money reasonably at a faster rate than most forwards generally do. So he's not a bad shout out to have a look at if you're struggling with your money. On the Shark side of things, do I really need to mention anything here? Katoa, he got 64. I love Katoa. I think if you're going to have anyone from Sharks, that would be it. In the back line, Wilden, very, very popular. He got 67. What do you think, guys? Guy, what do you think of Wilden?
Same thing with Koala Matangi. That's with a try. So if you take his try away, he's still looking at about a 50 score in 80 minutes. I just think, you're better off. I know he's a little bit cheaper, but you're better off going up to that, Carrigan or Haas around the 600k mark, where you can get that just in base without attack.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. I think Teague is probably still a stay away until Nico comes back. I think when Nico starts shooting out that left side, I think that's going to make Teague Wilton a lot more appetizing. But yeah, look, he's under 500k and he's just knocked out a 67. Just playing the numbers alone, he's obviously smashed his BE out of the park. So if it's a case of wait another round or when like in my situation, I've got Egan Butcher, who obviously lost some coin today from going 10 in the bin. So look, when they have their buy, it might be a sideways trade of someone like an Egan Butcher to Teague Wilton and hopefully bank some cash there.
He got some decent updates actually, because he was only on 55 before updates, and I thought that's mud for 80 minutes with a try.
Yeah,
I thought, I thought to myself, like, that's not great.
I thought exactly the same thing, mate.
Yeah.
So he's 14 for hit ups over 8, 5 for under 8. No line breaks. He got 4 offload points, so we just 2. So they were they were effective offloads. So just the one offload there. 39 tackles and a try. So yeah.
And the other thing too, you probably don't have to worry about him not playing 80 minutes for the next few weeks too, because Wade Graham's facing 3 weeks suspension too. Not that he's probably going to affect him, but it may have done at some stage. I don't know, but just going back on the South story, guy. I thought Lachlan Lewis, that was his best game he's played. I have not seen him. He was just everywhere in that whole game. Like, it had to have been his best game. He scored a try. He had a try assist. He had 4 tackle busts. Line break assist. He was just in everything. Outstanding. I've got a watch list.
It's good to see that level. Sorry, Ross. It's good to see that level of involvement too against quality teams.
Yep.
Obviously, the Sharks haven't got Nico there, but they're still a decent team.
Yep.
And with the run that the Rabbitohs have got, if Lachlan Ilias is going to keep getting his hands on the ball or demanding to get his hands on the ball against those top 8 teams that they play over the next 6 or 8 weeks, I think that's really good for him. So while we've all been looking at Boyd and Katoa as a cheap option in our halves, Lachlan Ilias at 360, 700, he certainly seems like a viable option there up in halfback if you haven't jumped on that already.
I just wanted to touch on Moali. He did get increased minutes with Totola and
Arrow.
who the other one was.
Sorry,
Yeah, Arrow.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to take into consideration with him.
I
The
think he
other
went-
one,
Oh, sorry. I think he went off late in the game though when he got that hit that whoever it was that ended up getting set off. Was that the Wade Graham one that was it Wade Graham that hit him? Yeah, I think Moali went off for a HIA. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what did happen. So he probably lost some minutes there as well.
You definitely, if you're looking at Moali, you definitely wouldn't do it next week. You wait another week and see what minutes he gets next week.
Absolutely.
but what do you think, boys? Do you think sell Cody Walker or give him another week?
Oh, you got to give Cody another week, surely.
Yeah, well, unless Hines is back this week, because that was my plan to go back to him. But
Who would
That's
you
exactly right.
who would you go Cody to if you sold him if Nico's not back though? Who would you
Sorry?
go? Who would you go Cody to if Nico's not back?
Ponga.
or maybe Cherry after this week from round 3, because he'd already have his buy gone. So then he'd also, with that scoring, his average might go up. I wanted to give an honourable mention to Ronaldo. I think he bombed them the game. That try that he just had to put the ball over the line, it's under 10's error, and he tries to do a big fancy dive and spills it. That really annoyed me, even not as a non-Shark supporter. He only scored 9 points in Supercoach, so hopefully he drops a bit of cash. But I'm with Brad. I love Sione Katoa. I think he'll go close to being top try scorer this year. He just always seems to be. He's a good finisher. The one that I wanted to bring up was Isaac Thompson. He was quite popular in pre-season. He scored 18 points in tackle bus, which is the same as Haas, 9 tackle bus. And he only put up a 37. So if you take out, that's half his score in tackle bus. That was just a little bit concerning for me. If he doesn't score a try, without those tackle bus, you could be looking at a sub 20 score. So just one thing to consider.
Good point.
I
All right.
Good job.
We'll move on to Timmy's game. Timmy, you're at this game, the Goalposts versus the Roosters. What are you going to give me on this one?
Oh, mate, wait till I flick across to my other screen. Yeah, look, it was a great game to be at, guys. Like I said before, the atmosphere was fantastic, and the NRL certainly put on a good show. So, yeah, hooray for the Dolphins. Jermaine Osako top scored with 110. Jeremy Marshall-King, another one. This is an interesting one because my very first team that I put out at the start of the preseason in our Podmasters chat, I had Jeremy Marshall-King as my hooker and got absolutely laughed at by all the other Podmasters. And I said, well, he went all right at the Bulldogs, and I reckon he's going to demand a little bit more ball now that he's definitely starting the season as a first-string hooker, whereas he certainly wasn't that at the start of last season for the Bulldogs. So, yeah, look, he played as well as I thought he was going to play. He came out with Jermaine Osako had the 2 tries, Marshall-King with 2 try assists, and Mark Nichols with a try, scoring 84. Did get plenty of minutes, but at 369K, got to be pretty happy with that as a front rower. Other honourable mentions, the Hammer with 79, which is, he looked really, really good for the flack that we all gave him and said that we weren't quite sure how he'd go at fullback. Admittedly, that was their first game and there was a lot of hype for their first game, but is that what their whole season's going to look like? The fans are certainly behind them and they certainly want them to succeed. So, yeah, the Hammer had a cracker. Connolly Lemilu was with a 74 in centre wing at 307. I was trying to work out who the hell he was, sitting on the sideline and going, who they put over there? So I couldn't work it out. And I couldn't get my Supercoach app to work while I was there. Lindsay Collins was the top scorer for the Roosters with a 61. He looked heavily involved and seemed pretty cranky too. So when he got moved to the bench, he certainly wasn't real impressed, wanted to stay out there. Kenny Bromwich with a 61, Sammy Walker with a 60. I know he was a bit of a pod play in the halfback role for guys that were trying to pair him up with Cleary or going against Cleary. So you obviously could have saved the best part of 250K there or whatever and gone with Sam Walker instead of Cleary and got the same result or close enough to it. Sean O'Sullivan did pretty well at 653, scoring a 59. Nat Butcher at 58, Tommy Gilbert at 54. Drew Hutchinson was a bit of a surprise at 234K, 5/8 second row duel, and came out with a 54. Did score a try, however, early in the game. So it's one maybe to keep a watch there, more so for his duels. It's going to be interesting to see, especially like when Cheese goes down or something. They'll certainly give Hutchinson a few more minutes.
The only issue with Hutchinson,
the game, didn't he?
He did. They took off. I think it was Billy Smith or not someone they had at centre. No, Corey Allen. They meant to have at centre. They took him off. But my thing with him is that he'll go back to the bench once. I think was it Manu they were missing?
Yeah,
Manu was out.
Yeah. So he'll go back to the bench and then it'll be an AE nightmare. So
yeah, so that's a really good point. He might have got 54 points at 234K, but he will be an AE nightmare if he's not getting the minutes, because he's the kind of bloke that will come on for 5 or 10 minutes either side of half time, and that's about all he's going to get. Luke Keary looked busy at times, didn't have a great game, but 52 points and 24 of that was with 2 try assists. Teddy, fantastic. I was absolutely death riding Teddy after going pod with Turbo and Trell. Teddy got 52 points, and yeah, look, basically most of his points came from the try assists that he got. So he got the try assist, the line break assist, and there's pretty much half his points. So very disappointing. I know he was he the top captain for the round at about 30, number 2.
Yeah, clearly.
So 30 odd percent when he was captain, and didn't avail. So Daniel Tupou got the try with a 46. He looked really busy. I think he bombed a try as well, or had one disallowed. So he could have been anything, but certainly looked heavily involved. They were most keen to kick to him, but then Jermaine Osako just seemed to play that little bit better.
What did you think? Obviously, the big talking point for all our listeners and even our teams is Brandon Smith. Now, for all reports, he looked gassed. He looked belted and gassed, and a lot of the talk preseason was this guy was going to be an 80-minute prospect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The super coaches out there need to start probably reconsidering what they're doing with Brandon Smith.
How many minutes did he play?
I'll check, but I know he went off for HIA early as well. Very disappointing for 44 points. I wasn't expecting to play 80. I was expecting to probably play 60, 65 minutes, but obviously that didn't happen, and he'll be one that if he doesn't do any better next week, he'll be out of my team. I can't hang on to him for that. I'd rather go down to a Tony Luke or Josh Hodgson or someone else. I don't know who, but there's just so much more to go up to the next hooker up from him, which is Jeremy Marshall King, which is about another 170K more. So it's a lot to go up from.
What I will say though is he got bashed, just absolutely bashed. Every chance, every time he got the ball, they just absolutely smacked him.
So he did play 59 minutes and still only put out 44.
Yeah.
The one that impressed me looking at just stats was Lindsay Collins. He scored 61 in just base. No attack. You said Marshall King before. The only issue I have with him as opposed to the other premium hookers is he doesn't make enough tackles. He's not as much of a worker as the other ones. Like I think he had about 35 tackles on the weekend, whereas Grant and your Robsons and stuff are making 50 plus. So yeah, I just don't think he has the work rate and the ceiling, and he's also over 600K, so he's not cheap. I thought Tupu and Suwali were a bit disappointed. They both only scored the 40s with a try.
Yep.
But the whole Roosters team were disappointing. Matt Lodge, he was one that I was watching. But yeah, definitely Lindsay Collins outplayed him.
Yeah.
The thing I will say about Jeremy Marshall King, he got 2 try assists, but I think they'll keep coming. I think they're going to need him to do that. He's going to need.
He
to
also
run.
got a line break, so that's another 10 as well.
Yeah.
40 tackles as well.
What do you think of Tom Gilbert? Because I know he was quite popular. 54, not too bad.
Yeah, I'm on him. I've got him in my team, but yeah, it's just meat and potatoes sort of stuff. I honestly thought he'd probably go a little bit better, but we'll see.
Yeah.
The
Mark
one thing I
Nichols,
will-
84. He's only 360k as well.
Who was that?
That
Sorry,
was,
guy.
that was so just his stats: played 49 minutes, scored a try, 14 hit ups, 165 meters, 4 tackle busts, 1 line break, and 32 tackles.
Like he scored 84. So even if you take out the try,
Take out the try, take out the try, take out the line break, and he still gets what, about 50 odd points.
What I will say though is you could see at the game, the Dolphins lost nothing when the bench forwards went on, and I guess that's probably the plus of having guys like Mark Nichols, he's been around for a while, but he's a pretty solid front rower as well. Like his workload, you could see on the pitch, he was giving it everything, and
at least Kapusi had him.
Oh, how
as well.
he was amazing at the game.
Not in Supercoach, but
He
Oh
was
my
man
God.
of the match by about a day and a half. He was just absolutely
absolutely a couple of bell ringer tackles in that game.
All right, we'll move on to the last one, fellas. We better keep moving along. Roscoe, this is you. You can quickly go over this because it's your beloved Tigers. What do you got for us?
Do I have to?
I'm making you suffer here. Come on.
Oh my God. I guess the only highlight for me for this game was owning Dewey, who got 91 points. Try, assist, 6 tackle busts, line break assist, offload. Probably by far our best player, followed by Fafita, who also owned 82 points. Played 80 minutes on the left edge, 1 try assist, 13 hit ups for nearly 200 meters, 4 tackle busts, a line break, and an offload. Question is he back? That's the big question. Can he keep it going? He's on a contract year, so hopefully he can keep it going. Probably the only other one I thought from that game that was all right was AJ Brimson, 65 points, scored a try assist, ran 145 meters, 4 tackle busts, 1 line break, but he looked really good and involved in a lot of their plays. I own all 3 of them, so I'm pretty happy with that. Probably saved my round. And probably the duds were Talau, 18 points, who obviously was injured. Don't know why he stayed out there. Sean Bloor got 12 points. I know he was pretty highly owned. He failed the HIA pretty early. And Pereira Khan, 6 points. Pretty disappointing as well.
I thought Charlie Staines was quite disappointing as well.
So was Dane Laurie too. Punched out 50, but he got a try and a line break. But he was just average. And he just didn't want to.
My question is, do you think they'll continue starting Simpkin? The worry is obviously whether Appy can play 80. So that's why
I don't think so. I don't think that'll be the case. I think Appy will eventually play 80 minutes. I don't think Simpkins offers much to that team, to be honest with you. And I just don't think it's worth having him on the bench. I think Appy's more than capable of playing 80 minutes. Don't know whether they're just going to try and ease him back in. I don't know. But I thought Twal had a pretty decent game for the Tigers too. I think he scored about 60 odd points as well. He started at lock. Looked okay. Nearly scored his first try too. So, yeah, but I thought he was all right. But other than that, I don't know about you guys. There wasn't really much else in that game that really interested me. Supercoach was.
No, mainly just Dewey and Fafita. Me too. IPAP, obviously, once he drops in cash, might be a bit more relevant.
Clemmer looked okay in patches too, but just again, the attack was just so clunky. Like just didn't click. We had so many opportunities to score and probably win that game and just couldn't do it.
Did you give Tanner Boyd and Stefano a pass mark? I know they were quite popular.
I think Stefano, I'm not sure what sort of minutes he played, scored about 40 points, and I think Boyd did about the same too. So, yeah. Look,
Boyd on 35.
35, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and Stefano, on 41.
Not great.
Guys, the one I will mention, Brent Naden, 345k, scored a 53, all in base, 7 tackles, 6 points in tackle bus, 6 in offloads. It's obviously not updated yet as to whether they're effective or not effective, being the last game. 5 line breaks, 24 points in hit-ups over 8 and 5 under 8. He seemed to be involved, and that's pretty much, 2 or 3 games in a row now where he's actually looked really good.
He looked like in the trial games as well. I thought I just doesn't. He's good with his space, but he just doesn't get much attacking stats. And I don't know.
I think that team's. I mean, you're the fan, mate. I think that team's on the improve. I think it's going to take them a little while to sort their shit out and work out who's playing where and who's doing what. I think when they click, they are, and I think it's really only a matter of time. Tim Sheens is no slouch when it comes to running a football top club.
You got Robbie and Benji there running it with him too.
That's exactly right. So I think when they do click, I think they're going to hit it. And I think Brent Naden could go all right as a bit of a sneaky pod as far as a cheaper pod goes, at under 350K and playing in the centres. And he's on their left side as well.
Just out of interest, what did Nofo score? Because I know he was pretty popular too.
I'll tell you in a second. Nofaluma, 33.
Yeah, he was pretty popular as well. Didn't do
nearly double the price of Brent Naden.
Yeah,
Naden looked quite good, and yeah, he should hold his spot. Yeah, it's just whether or not the Tigers will get that many points.
I think they need to get Tupu back in that team. He was outstanding in that game last week against the Titans.
But surely Staines would go first before.
Yeah.
All right, that's all our games covered. Now, before we all sign off for the night, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask each one of you to give me one trade, even if you're not going to make a trade. If you're going to make a trade this week, who would you be getting rid of and who you're going to get in? Who you going to get rid of and who you're going to get in? So, Guy, let me give you a first up. Who would you be getting rid of and who you think that you might get in?
In my team, the probably person that I'm thinking of getting rid of is Cody Walker. It's just I don't know if I do it this week or next. Obviously, it would obviously be to Hind if he plays this week, or then Jerry Evans, or there's a couple of options.
Brimo one on your radar? Brimson?
Yeah, it's just the hard thing is you want Hines when he's back. So I don't want to waste too many trades. So I kind of just want to go Cody straight to Hines. And yeah, I'll be happy with that. But yeah, the other one was To'o. I started To'o as well with Holmes centre wing. They both, I mean, To'o puts up a 43 with no tries, so it's nothing to complain about. But at that price, I was talking with Timmy, the plan was maybe after round 2 was to go To'o before his bye to Garrick, who already had his bye. But yeah, there are a couple of options that I'm looking at.
I don't think To'o will be better than that. That game wasn't played in the best conditions. It was pissing down at putt start, So
it's more they'll have the bye as well. And if you've got Cleary and a couple of Panthers already, yeah.
What about you, Timmy? What are your thoughts? Who would you be getting rid of? And
I don't know. Look, the only, I mean, I've cracked nearly 1,200, so I can't really complain. I've sort of got some moving parts I've left plenty of points on my bench, which I probably need to move up in a couple of spots, especially in centre wing. But obviously that's just the Russian roulette that you play with centre wing at this time of year, especially if you start with a whole heap of cheapies. The one that I need to bring up is CNK. He certainly seemed a lot more involved than what I thought he was going to be. And maybe the Warriors played a bit better than I thought they were. I actually tipped against the Warriors. I tipped the Knights. But yeah, look, probably the only one that I would look at, and I'm really not interested just yet. Well, certainly not round 2, but maybe round 3, like we talked about before, would be Val Holmes straight across to Garrick. But I'll be holding on that for a week. Outside of that, yeah, maybe like a sideways trade of Kepi to to the Warriors second rower, but to Jackson Ford, but that's about it. I've only got 10K in the bank, so I was pretty happy with my starting team. At one stage, I had 150K, and then I made a couple of changes just before lockout. So outside of that, I'm pretty happy. I don't have a lot of things to fix.
Very good. Roscoe, what's going to save your team?
I'm probably looking at Talau to Hammer potentially as a trade. Just looking at the Dolphins' draw, it's not too bad for the next couple of games. They've got Canberra next week, and then they've got Newcastle the week after. So it's potentially on trade looking at, but I might be getting rid of Hess as well, but I'll have to have a look at that too. I just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think definitely Hess is one that, in looking at what happened there and his minutes, Hess is one that you really got to move on somewhere there. And you do have options. I mean, he's not a bad price, so you got a few cheap options there you can probably go.
Yeah, I think Welch, Safidi, and Collins were the three main props at that low 400 mark that stood out.
Yeah, Tom Gilbert, even that, he got near 60. So, I mean, you've got a few options in that 400, low 400 mark that'll, it'll definitely help you out there with Hess. Myself, I'm looking at strengthening up I think I've gone, the balance of my team's probably not quite there. I just probably gone a bit too weak in the center wingers area, which is probably like a lot of people. But I don't like relying on some of the crap that I've got sitting down there at the moment. So, I mean, we all would have, and you would all agree with me, you've all had to rely on a Tuva or Isaac Thompson, or I know some people even played Khan, where I don't want to be relying on these players every single week. So I'm definitely looking at trying to, and I got a little bit of cash, so trying to upgrade maybe to a Tuilagi or something like that, to help strengthen up that back line for a while, because I don't think Tuilagi's going to lose any cash, and we've got a lovely draw. So that's what's on my mind for this coming week's trades. All right. Anybody got any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Just a couple of things. So off the bench, we've got a team going, which we started, which the 5 of us, including Dave, put together, and I think we punched out 1,084 this week, which wasn't too bad considering we had Teddy as captain, we had Talau for 18, we had Khan Pereira for 6. So but other than that, just again, thanks to our sponsor for Bluebet for jumping on board as well, and they've just been fantastic so far. So thank you to Brent and the team for jumping on board. It's muchly appreciated. And the guys have been great. They're fixing us up with some jerseys to auction off for the fundraiser that we're still continuing to do for Matty Wilson to help him out. So thanks guys for that.
Roscoe, are we starting that the $10 knockout? Is that starting this round? Is it starting next week? When?
We've got 56 runners, and it'll be cut down to 32 runners after this round, and then it'll go elimination stage from there, head to head.
Awesome.
Yeah, very good. Any last words there, Guy?
Nah, just glad we all got through the first week. Nothing too serious. Hopefully we're off the bench has done all right in 1%. But yeah, other than that, looking forward to the second week, and hopefully we can back it back up.
Just out of interest, boys, how did we go in our draft and all our other comps and whatever else we're in?
To go on the 1% draft and actually do it. So I don't think it went too well this week.
Yeah, not looking
Because the
pretty.
big thing to do with that team, Guy.
I mean, that many drafts. With drafts, it's a bit trickier because you got to remember who's in your team and who's on the waiver for each one.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more, complex.
Outside of that, boys, I'm sure we'll all do much better next week.
Yep, let's hope.
All right. Until next week, everybody, have a great evening, and trade away. Don't rage trade too much. That's probably going to be my biggest advice. A lot of the players we've spoken about tonight, whether they even be an Isaac Thompson or Khan Pierre and that sort of thing, give them time. You picked them for a reason. Rage trading is probably not the not the time, unless you really want to change your balance of your team up a little bit. That's about the only real advice I can sort of say on that. So that's about it. Timmy, I missed out on you. Any last words for the night?
No, mate, go the Broncos, go the Dolphins, and stay safe and be good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Tell your friends about Off the Bench. Tell them to join our Facebook group there. And until next week, keep watching out for a few articles that are going to pop up and all the news and information we give you. Cheers. Till next week.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, folks.